Welcome to Sleepy Theories. I'm so happy you've joined me here. Whether you're easing into sleep, winding down after a busy day, or just letting your mind float into the night, this space is here for you. Before we begin tonight's exploration, I'd love to know, where are you listening from? It's always a special feeling to imagine this quiet corner of curiosity stretching across the globe and into cozy bedrooms far and wide. If you enjoy thoughtful, relaxing journeys like this one, a quick tap on the like button and a subscribe would mean so much. And for those of you already part of this gentle, sleepy adventure, thank you for being here. I'll do my best not to make it too interesting. But if it does keep you awake, at least you'll leave with your mind full of fascinating questions and the satisfying feeling of learning something you didn't even know you needed to know. We are about to embark on a quiet journey through the essence of time, exploring its mysteries from the deepest corners of science and philosophy. Time is one of those things that we often take for granted, but can we truly understand it? What is time? And does the past really exist? Or is it just a collection of fleeting memories that we carry with us? Moments that slip through our fingers like sand in the wind. Take a deep breath, and let's let go of the constraints of time for just a little while, as we question the very fabric of reality itself. In the next moments, we'll explore how time has been understood by great minds throughout history. From the gentle flow of seconds in our daily lives to the cosmic dance of stars and galaxies, time exists in many forms. We'll dive into the realm of physics, where time bends and stretches according to the speed at which we travel. We'll also wander through the philosophical landscapes, where time isn't just a measurement, but a force that shapes our perception of reality. Is it real? Is the past something that still lingers in the cosmos? Or is it just a whisper of what once was? These are the questions we will ponder in a soothing, calm manner, letting the stillness guide us toward deeper understanding. There is no rush here, just soothing thoughts wrapped in quiet wonder. Time as we know it may be elusive and puzzling, but here, in this moment, we will slow down, reflect, and consider perspectives from every angle. We will talk about time as a construct, an experience, and a dimension, blending the poetic with the scientific. Together, we will challenge our beliefs, ponder new possibilities, and let our minds roam in a calm, introspective space. Let's drift together into a peaceful reflection on time. It's a beautiful, yet puzzling concept that surrounds us, shaping our existence in ways we often don't realize. Time, in its most basic form, dictates everything around us. Our routines, our dreams, and even the very essence of our being. Yet, what exactly is it? Is it something we can touch, feel, or truly understand? Or is it simply a construct, a tool we use to make sense of the world? Tonight, we will gently explore the mystery of time. And in doing so, we may just uncover new perspectives on how we see the past, the present, and the future. What is time, really? And does the past truly exist? Or is it just a collection of fading memories, fading into the distance with each passing moment? Some say that the past is nothing more than a shadow, a ghost we keep alive in our minds. But what if it's more than that? What if the past is as real as the present, just waiting to be rediscovered, like forgotten chapters of a book, hidden beneath the surface of our consciousness? These are the questions that have puzzled great minds for centuries, And tonight, we will pause to consider these mysteries in a soothing, calm space, from physics to philosophy, from consciousness to the very essence of existence. We'll take a tranquil journey together, exploring various perspectives on time. We'll examine how time behaves differently for us, how it stretches and compresses depending on where we are and what we're doing. From the ticking of a clock to the vast movements of celestial bodies in the universe, time is constantly in motion. But does it flow in the same way for everyone? Or is time a personal experience, molded by our awareness, our emotions, and our sense of being? These thoughts will guide our exploration, and as we move through each topic, we'll do so slowly, with a focus on the deeper, quieter reflections that often go unnoticed. This is not a journey that needs to be rushed. There is no hurry here. Just soothing thoughts, wrapped in quiet wonder. As we explore the nature of time, we will do so with an open mind, allowing space for contemplation. We will not rush to conclusions, but instead, we will let our thoughts gently unfold. What does it mean for time to exist? Can we even say it flows? Or is it a stationary concept that we only perceive as flowing? We will ponder these questions calmly, allowing the serenity of the moment to guide us toward insights that can only come when we stop, breathe, and reflect. Throughout this peaceful exploration, we will weave together science and philosophy, blending logic with intuition, and allowing our understanding of time to evolve in a natural, unhurried way. The flow of time, after all, is not just about how we measure the ticking of the clock, but how we experience it, how it shapes our lives and our choices. Tonight, we'll allow ourselves to wander through these thoughts in a space of stillness, free from the usual constraints of time. This journey will be less about finding clear answers and more about embracing the wonder of the unknown. So, settle in and let your mind drift with me as we unravel the mysteries of time. Whether you find peace in the quiet ticking of a clock or in the vast, uncharted reaches of the universe, know that time is more than just the passing of seconds. It is a vast, ever-changing force that both shapes and reflects who we are. And as we journey through tonight's reflections, remember, there is no need to rush. Time itself is our companion, our guide, and our subject for this evening's exploration. Let's embrace it fully in this moment, without haste, without expectation. Just peaceful contemplation, one thought at a time. Time is a curious thing. For some, it drifts slowly, like the hands of a clock inching forward, each second lasting what feels like an eternity. Yet, for others, it slips by unnoticed, a blur of activity and moments that leave no trace but a feeling of having lost something. How can it be that time feels so different for each of us? Is it possible that the very experience of time is as subjective as the way we perceive the world around us? When we talk about time, we often assume it is a constant, something fixed that flows uniformly for all. But perhaps, just perhaps, time is far more malleable than we realize. Some days it drags, while others pass in the blink of an eye. Is this just the way we feel, or could there be something deeper at play? When we try to understand the perception of time, we must begin with our own minds, for it is our brain that interprets the ticking of the clock and the passage of the day. But does the brain truly understand time, or is it merely processing an illusion? Our sense of time, after all, is a construct, one that is shaped by our attention, our emotions, and our experiences. It is said that time is relative, and perhaps nowhere is this more true than in the way we feel it. Think of the slow-moving minutes of a long meeting or the endless hours of a sleepless night. Contrast that with the fleeting hours of joy spent with loved ones or the rush of excitement during a vacation. Our brains experience time differently depending on our state of mind, our focus, and our level of engagement. Could it be that our perception of time is a reflection of our own mental state, rather than an objective reality? Time itself is constant, but our experience of it changes, flowing with the rhythm of our thoughts, feelings, and actions. One of the most perplexing aspects of time is the present moment. The present is often considered the most real, the most immediate. After all, the present is where we exist, where we experience life. But is the present truly ever real, or is it simply a fleeting point between the past and future? We often think of the present as a fixed, tangible moment in time, a single point that exists only for an instant before slipping away into the past. Yet when we try to grasp it, to hold it, we find that it is elusive, slipping through our fingers like water. The moment we experience as now is already fading into memory, already becoming part of the past. How real, then, is the present moment? Is it possible to ever truly live in it? Or do we only ever experience the fading remnants of it as it vanishes into the flow of time? The present is both constant and transient, a paradox that we live with every day. Psychologists and neuroscientists have long been fascinated by our perception of time. Our brains don't simply passively record the ticking of the clock. Instead, they actively create our experience of time. This is why time can feel slow when we're bored and rush by when we're busy, even though the clock continues its steady march forward. But what happens inside the brain to create this perception? Research has shown that our brains process time using complex networks, and our sense of time can be influenced by everything from our attention to the level of novelty in our environment. When we focus intently on something, we lose track of time because we are fully immersed in the experience, not aware of the passing seconds. But when we are waiting for something, our attention is fixed on the clock, and time seems to stretch out endlessly. Yet, there's another fascinating aspect to the perception of time, how it changes with age. As children, time seems to stretch on forever, each day feeling like a lifetime, each year bringing monumental changes. But as we grow older, time seems to speed up, and before we know it, decades have passed. This phenomenon, often referred to as time compression, suggests that our perception of time is not just influenced by our immediate environment, but by the accumulated experiences of our lives. The more we experience, the more familiar the passage of time becomes, and the less we notice it. Is this why, as adults, we feel like time slips by so quickly? Is it simply because we have experienced more of it, and thus the novelty of each passing moment has faded, leaving us with only the feeling of time moving faster? As we explore time's perception, we also begin to see how it is tied to memory. Our memories are what allow us to reconstruct the past, giving us the illusion that we experience time as a continuous flow. But the past, as we understand it, is not fixed in the way that the present is. It is reconstructed by our minds every time we recall it. Each time we remember, We are not simply recalling an event as it truly happened, but rather reinterpreting it through the lens of our current thoughts and feelings. So, when we remember the past, are we truly experiencing it, or are we simply experiencing our perception of it? And if our memories of the past are so fluid, what does this tell us about the nature of time itself? Could it be that time, like memory, is not a fixed entity, but something malleable, something that we experience differently depending on how we look at it? In this quiet space, as we think about the perception of time, we can see that time is more than just a mechanical measurement. It is something we feel, something we experience, and something that is uniquely shaped by our own minds. Time is not just the ticking of the clock. It is the ebb and flow of our experiences, the rise and fall of our emotions, and the quiet passage of our thoughts. As we explore this idea further, we'll begin to question whether time is truly as fixed as we think, or whether it is more fluid and subjective than we ever imagined. Time may not be the constant we've always assumed it to be. Instead, it could be as elusive as the present moment, slipping through our grasp as we attempt to define it. Human beings have a natural desire to understand their surroundings, to bring order to the chaos of life. And so, we created time. We invented clocks and calendars, carefully marking the days, the hours, and the minutes. Time became a tool, a way to measure the moments and bring structure to our lives. But here's the question. Did time exist before we did? Or was it something that we, as a species, created to make sense of the world around us? Before humans, before clocks, before the concept of seconds, minutes, and hours, was there time as we know it? Or was the universe simply a vast, timeless expanse, stretching on in all directions without any true measure? Perhaps time was not a thing in itself, but a framework that we constructed, an idea born out of our need to understand the flow of our lives. We needed a way to break down the infinite into manageable pieces, a way to organize our existence. So we invented time as a way to measure, track, and navigate the world. Before time was measured by hands on a clock, we measured it by the cycles of nature. The rising and setting of the sun, the changing of seasons, the growth and decay of plants, all gave us a natural rhythm that we began to associate with time. Yet, these natural rhythms were not precise. They were fluid and vast. Time in the human sense became necessary when we needed to impose structure on our world. We needed to coordinate, to communicate, to organize. And so we created hours, days, and years. But even then, time was not always universal. Different civilizations developed their own ways of tracking time, based on the stars, the moon, or the movement of the planets. Time, in this sense, was shaped by our individual understanding of the world around us. It was not a constant, but something we molded to fit our needs. But as we created these systems, we also began to notice something extraordinary. Time, it seemed, didn't behave the same for everyone. As Einstein taught us, time doesn't flow the same for everyone. The famous theory of relativity revealed something profound. Time, as we experience it, is not an absolute, unchanging constant. It is relative, flexible, and dependent on where you are and how fast you're moving. Einstein's theory showed that time could stretch and compress, speeding up or slowing down, depending on the observer's perspective. If you were traveling at the speed of light, for example, time would appear to stop altogether. while for someone standing still, time would continue to move forward as usual. This concept challenges everything we've known about time. Time, once thought to be a constant, turns out to be a personal experience, shaped by speed and gravity. Time, in this way, is as much a product of the universe. For now, the flow of time remains a mystery. It seems to follow a straightforward, predictable path from one moment to the next, from one day to the next. Yet, when we zoom out, when we look at the larger universe, we see that time is not the constant, steady thing we once believed it to be. Time, as modern science has shown us, is influenced by gravity, velocity, and the very fabric of space itself. Time can bend, stretch, and twist, just as space does. But what does this mean for us as we experience time in our daily lives? Do we live in a universe where time is fluid, or are we bound by a rigid, unchangeable flow? For now, the flow of time is something we feel and experience, something we rely on to structure our lives. But as we continue to explore the mysteries of the universe, perhaps we will uncover new truths about the nature of time. Perhaps we will discover that time, like the universe itself, is far more complex than we ever imagined. And perhaps we will come to understand that time, in the end, is not just a tool we created, but a force that shapes our very existence. Time is a vast expanse that stretches across the moments of our lives, and within this stretch lies the past. But what exactly is the past? Is it real? Or is it simply a shadow of memories, forever fading, yet never fully gone? Philosophers have pondered this question for centuries, and they have come up with different ways to view the relationship between time and reality. These schools of thought, known as presentism, eternalism, and the growing block theory, offer us unique perspectives on how to understand time's passage and the reality of the past. Presentism is one such theory. It suggests that only the present is real, while the past and future are mere concepts, figments of our imagination. According to this view, the past is nothing more than a memory, a shadow we cannot touch. The past, in essence, is like a fading dream, something that exists only in our minds, not in reality. In the presentist view, the only moment that truly exists is the one happening right now. It's a comforting thought, isn't it? To believe that the past is gone and the future has yet to arrive, leaving only the present for us to embrace. But if the past is nothing but a collection of fading memories, can we trust that it was ever real? Can a moment that we can no longer touch, smell, or experience in the physical world still hold any true weight in our understanding of reality? On the other hand, there's the growing block theory, which offers a slightly different perspective. According to this view, the past exists, the present is alive, but the future remains a mystery yet to unfold. In this theory, the past is not something that fades into nothingness, but instead it continues to exist alongside us. Each moment, as it passes, becomes part of the growing block of reality, stacked upon the moments that came before it. The present, in this view, is always alive and ever-changing, and the future is always beyond our reach, waiting to be written. What does this mean for our experience of time? Well, it suggests that while we can never truly return to the past, it still exists in some sense, holding its place in the continuum of time. But the past we remember is not necessarily the past we experienced. In a way, Time is both a moving entity and a static one, growing, changing, and yet always a part of something larger that cannot be erased. Then there is eternalism, a theory that offers the most intriguing, yet potentially unsettling, perspective on time. This theory suggests that all points in time exist simultaneously, like frames in a movie, forever locked into the fabric of reality. In this view, the past, present, and future are all equally real and exist side by side. It's a concept that challenges the very idea of time as we know it, suggesting that everything, every moment that has ever been and will ever be, is already written into the cosmic fabric of the universe. Could it be that time, in its entirety, is already laid out before us, existing not as a flowing stream but as a static, unchangeable grid, with all moments equally present, though we only perceive one at a time? If this is the case, then the past is not something that fades away, but something that is still there, just as real as the moment we live in now, or the future we will one day experience. The past is not something that slips through our fingers, but something that remains, like an eternal photograph captured in the grand design of the universe. Philosophers have long discussed the nature of the present. Some see it as a moment in time, a fixed slice of existence where reality unfolds. But others suggest that the present is merely a fleeting illusion, a moment that we create by focusing our consciousness on it. The present, in this sense, might not be real at all, but a way for our minds to frame the flow of time. We can only experience the present because our minds allow us to focus on it. Time moves around us, but it is in the present that we are aware of it. The past has already happened, and the future has yet to arrive. So, what is left for us to experience but the fleeting present? Yet, even this present moment, as we perceive it, is not fixed. It is always shifting, always fading. The present is not a stable point. It is like a dream, a transient state that only exists because we are awake to experience it. And this brings us to one of the great paradoxes of the present. While we live in it, it is always slipping away, disappearing into the past. The present, as we experience it, seems to exist only in our consciousness, in the very moment that we focus on it. In a way, the present only exists because we are aware of it. When we stop paying attention, the present vanishes, fading into the flow of time. So, can the present truly be real if it is so fleeting, so difficult to pin down? As we explore the present further, we must also consider the physics of the present. The laws of physics, as they are understood today, suggest that time is not the same for everyone. In fact, time can flow differently depending on where you are and how fast you're moving. This phenomenon is known as time dilation, and it's one of the most fascinating consequences of Einstein's theory of relativity. For an astronaut traveling in space, moving at speeds close to the speed of light, the present is very different from the one we experience here on Earth. To an astronaut, the present might seem to stretch out, while time on Earth moves more quickly. This effect happens because the faster you travel, the slower time moves for you, relative to someone at rest. Time, then, is not an absolute, fixed quantity, but something that is relative to your motion in space. The faster you go, the slower time seems to pass for you. In this sense, the present is not a uniform, universal experience, but something that changes depending on your perspective. Einstein's theory of relativity introduced this idea, showing us that time is not just something that moves in a straight line, but something that can stretch and compress, depending on your velocity and position in space. The faster you move, the more slowly you experience time. This is time dilation in action. For an astronaut traveling near the speed of light, an hour might feel like only a few minutes, while for someone on Earth, that hour would pass normally. The same amount of time has passed, but the perception of it is drastically different depending on the observer's speed. This concept forces us to reconsider the idea of a fixed present. If time can move differently for different people, can we still call the present a single, shared experience? Or is it more accurate to say that each individual experiences their own now, influenced by their own unique circumstances? What then is the nature of the present in the universe? Is it just a tiny slice of time that we can experience, or is it something more complex? The idea that the present is a fleeting moment raises another important question. Is the present just a small slice, a narrow window through which we can glimpse time's flow? And in that slice is all that we can experience. Some scientists and philosophers suggest that time in its entirety exists in a block where all moments in time, past, present, and future, exist simultaneously. In this view, the present is just a tiny sliver of the whole, one point that we perceive as the now, but which is just as real and as fixed as the past or future. Could it be that the present is not as significant as we think, that it is merely a perspective that we adopt, when in fact the entire fabric of time exists as a whole, outside of our perception? Time, in this view, is not a river flowing in one direction, but a vast, static block where all moments coexist, and the present is simply the slice we can see at any given moment. Does this make the present more real, or does it make it more like an illusion, a small part of a larger whole? As we continue our exploration of the present, we begin to grapple with an even deeper concept, the illusion of the present in the universe. Time, as we experience it, feels like a continuous flow, moving from one moment to the next. Yet, when we think about time on a cosmic scale, this idea starts to lose its clarity. If time is, in fact, a vast block where past, present, and future coexist simultaneously, then the present we experience is not as fixed as we might believe. In reality, the present could just be a small sliver, a fleeting slice of a much larger, timeless whole, where everything, every moment, already exists. And in this vast cosmic landscape, our experience of the present could be nothing more than an illusion, a brief, subjective perception of time as it unfolds in our minds. The more we reflect on this idea, the more it seems that our understanding of the present is shaped by our consciousness. It is through our awareness that we perceive the now as something real, something fixed in time. But is it truly real, or is it simply a perspective that our minds construct in order to make sense of the endless march of moments? The present, as we experience it, may be like a film reel, flickering through frames at a rapid pace. Each moment is a single frame, but we can only perceive one at a time, creating the illusion of a continuous flow. The now we live in is not a permanent, unchanging instant, but a transient point that appears in our awareness, only to vanish as the next moment takes its place. The concept of the block universe, where all moments in time exist simultaneously, further complicates our perception of the present. In this view, there is no present as we know it. There is only the entire timeline laid out in front of us. The past is not gone, but exists as part of the block, just as real as the future. Our experience of time is merely a narrow slice of this block, one that we interpret through our consciousness. This raises the question, does the present exist only because we are aware of it? Or is it a fixed moment, independent of our perception, that we only experience as we move through it? The idea that time is already laid out in its entirety challenges our understanding of the present as something we can grasp and live in. It suggests that what we consider the present is merely a temporary perception, a way for us to navigate the flow of time. Memory, of course, is deeply tied to consciousness. It is through our awareness that we are able to store and retrieve memories of the past. These memories are not just passive recordings, but active processes in which the brain constructs a version of the past based on the present state of the mind. Each time we recall a memory, we are not simply reliving it, but recreating it, interpreting it through the lens of our current emotions and experiences. This brings us to an intriguing question. Does the past change with our perception of it? If we alter our understanding of the present, do the memories of the past shift as well? It seems that memory and the past are intimately connected to consciousness, and as our minds evolve, so too does our relationship with the past. Memory allows us to carry the past with us, but it also reshapes it in ways that we may not fully comprehend. As we reflect on these ideas, we begin to see that the past is not something fixed and immutable. It is both real and imagined, shaped by the mind, memory, and consciousness. It exists in a state of flux, always shifting, always evolving. What we remember of the past is not necessarily what truly happened, but what our minds have constructed based on our present understanding. The past, then, is not a singular, unchanging truth, but a collection of interpretations, each one influenced by the passage of time and the evolution of consciousness. This is not to say that the past is entirely fictional, but that our relationship with it is complex and ever-changing. And yet, despite its subjectivity, the past remains a powerful force in our lives. It shapes our identities, guides our decisions, and influences the way we see the world. The past may be fleeting, but it is never truly gone. It lives on in our memories, in the stories we tell, in the lessons we learn. And perhaps, in some ways, the past is more real than we give it credit for. It may not be tangible in the way the present is, but it continues to shape us, to mold our experiences, and to guide us through the ever-moving stream of time. The present, a moment that we all experience, yet it seems so elusive. We live in the present, and yet we rarely seem to fully grasp it. It slips by so quickly, like a fleeting whisper, only to fade into the past before we can hold on to it. What is the present? Is it a moment in time, something tangible, something we can grasp? Or is it simply an illusion that we create by focusing our consciousness on it? We think of the present as the now, but is the now truly a real fixed moment? Or is it just a product of our perception, a construct that exists only because our minds focus on it as we move through time? In the quiet of the present, we might feel that we are truly experiencing something. But if we look closer, we may realize that the present is always fleeting, always slipping away. It's as if the now is not a stable point in time, but rather a continuous process of change. Each time we try to capture it, it is already gone. The moment we call now is always in motion, moving so quickly that we can never quite catch it. Is this what the present truly is? A moment so brief that it is forever disappearing as soon as it begins. Some philosophers argue that the present is nothing more than a point of transition, a brief instant between the past and future, a fleeting gap that exists only in our minds. In this view, the present is not an actual, tangible thing, but rather a perception we hold. It's like trying to catch the wind with your hands, only to find it slipping through your fingers. Is the present truly real, or is it just the space between what was and what is yet to come? Philosophers have long discussed the nature of the present. Some see it as a moment in time, a fixed slice of existence where reality unfolds. But others suggest that the present is merely a fleeting illusion, a moment that we create by focusing our consciousness on it. The present, in this sense, might not be real at all, but a way for our minds to frame the flow of time. We can only experience the present because our minds allow us to focus on it. Time moves around us, but it is in the present that we are aware of it. The past has already happened, and the future has yet to arrive. So, what is left for us to experience but the fleeting present? Yet, even this present moment as we perceive it is not fixed. It is always shifting, always fading. The present is not a stable point. It is like a dream, a transient state that only exists because we are awake to experience it. And this brings us to one of the great paradoxes of the present. While we live in it, it is always slipping away, disappearing into the past. The present, as we experience it, seems to exist only in our consciousness, in the very moment that we focus on it. In a way, the present only exists because we are aware of it. When we stop paying attention, the present vanishes, fading into the flow of time. So, can the present truly be real if it is so fleeting, so difficult to pin down? As we explore the present further, we must also consider the physics of the present. The laws of physics, as they are understood today, suggest that time is not the same for everyone. In fact, time can flow differently depending on where you are and how fast you're moving. This phenomenon is known as time dilation, and it's one of the most fascinating consequences of Einstein's theory of relativity. For an astronaut traveling in space, moving at speeds close to the speed of light, the present is very different from the one we experience here on Earth. To an astronaut, the present might seem to stretch out, while time on Earth moves more quickly. This effect happens because the faster you travel, the slower time moves for you, relative to someone at rest. Time, then, is not an absolute fixed quantity, but something that is relative to your motion in space. The faster you go, the slower time seems to pass for you. In this sense, the present is not a uniform, universal experience, but something that changes depending on your perspective. Einstein's theory of relativity introduced this idea, showing us that time is not just something that moves in a straight line, but something that can stretch and compress, depending on your velocity and position in space. The faster you move, the more slowly you experience time. This is time dilation in action. For an astronaut traveling near the speed of light, an hour might feel like only a few minutes, while for someone on Earth, that hour would pass normally. The same amount of time has passed, but the perception of it is drastically different depending on the observer's speed. This concept forces us to reconsider the idea of a fixed present. If time can move differently for different people, can we still call the present a single shared experience? Or is it more accurate to say that each individual experiences their own now influenced by their own unique circumstances. What then is the nature of the present in the universe? Is it just a tiny slice of time that we can experience? Or is it something more complex? The idea that the present is a fleeting moment raises another important question. Is the present just a small slice, a narrow window through which we can glimpse time's flow? And in that slice is all that we can experience. Some scientists and philosophers suggest that time, in its entirety, exists in a block where all moments in time, past, present, and future, exist simultaneously. In this view, the present is just a tiny sliver of the whole, one point that we perceive as the now, but which is just as real and as fixed as the past or future. Could it be that the present is not as significant as we think, that it is merely a perspective that we adopt, when in fact, the entire fabric of time exists as a whole, outside of our perception? Time, in this view, is not a river flowing in one direction, but a vast, static block, where all moments coexist, and the present is simply the slice we can see at any given moment. Does this make the present more real, or does it make it more like an illusion, a small part of a larger whole? As we continue our exploration of the present, we begin to grapple with an even deeper concept: the illusion of the present in the universe. Time, as we experience it, feels like a continuous flow, moving from one moment to the next. Yet, when we think about time on a cosmic scale, this idea starts to lose its clarity. If time is, in fact, a vast block, where past, present, and future coexist simultaneously, then the present we experience is not as fixed as we might believe. In reality, the present could just be a small sliver, a fleeting slice of a much larger, timeless whole, where everything, every moment, already exists. And in this vast cosmic landscape, our experience of the present could be nothing more than an illusion, a brief, subjective perception of time as it unfolds in our minds. The more we reflect on this idea, the more it seems that our understanding of the present is shaped by our consciousness. It is through our awareness that we perceive the now as something real, something fixed in time. But is it truly real, or is it simply a perspective that our minds construct in order to make sense of the endless march of moments? The present, as we experience it, may be like a film reel, flickering through frames at a rapid pace. Each moment is a single frame, but we can only perceive one at a time, creating the illusion of a continuous flow. The now we live in is not a permanent, unchanging instant, but a transient point that appears in our awareness, only to vanish as the next moment takes its place. The concept of the block universe, where all moments in time exist simultaneously, further complicates our perception of the present. In this view, there is no present as we know it. There is only the entire timeline laid out in front of us. The past is not gone, but exists as part of the block, just as real as the future. Our experience of time is merely a narrow slice of this block, one that we interpret through our consciousness. This raises the question: does the present exist only because we are aware of it, or is it a fixed moment, independent of our perception, that we only experience as we move through it? The idea that time is already laid out in its entirety challenges our understanding of the present as something we can grasp and live in. It suggests that what we consider the present is merely a temporary perception, a way for for us to navigate the flow of time. To further complicate things, we must also consider the nature of time dilation, a phenomenon described by Einstein's theory of relativity. As we've seen, time does not flow the same for everyone. For an astronaut traveling in space, time flows differently compared to someone standing on Earth. The faster you move, the slower time seems to pass, relative to those who are at rest. This means that the present, as we experience it, is not the same for everyone. For someone traveling at high speeds, their present is stretched out, while for someone on Earth, the present continues at its normal pace. The present, then, becomes a deeply personal experience, shaped by speed, gravity, and the way in which we move through space. This introduces an interesting paradox. If time is relative, and if the present can flow differently for different people, can we still say that we all share the same now? Or is the present simply a subjective experience, one that is as unique as our perspective in the universe? As we continue to examine the flow of time, we must ask ourselves whether the present is truly as real as we believe. Is it a concrete, tangible moment, or is it just a perception that we hold in our minds? In the larger scheme of the universe, where time is not as linear as we experience it, is the present really more than just an illusion? The concept of time dilation suggests that the present is not universal, and the idea of the block universe suggests that the present is only a slice of something much greater. In this light, the present might not be as important or as fixed as we think. It is possible that the present is merely a fleeting moment, one that exists only because we are aware of it, but which is part of a larger, unchanging whole. In this sense, the present is not just fleeting. It is fleeting and subjective, a brief perception in the grand design of time. The more we explore these ideas, the more we realize that time is not something that can be easily pinned down. The present, in particular, is elusive and ever-changing. It is a point in time that we experience as real, but which may be nothing more than a passing moment, a snapshot in the flow of time. What we experience as the present is shaped by our consciousness, by the way we perceive and interpret the world around us. Yet, if the present is fleeting and subjective, can we ever truly say that we are living in the now, in a permanent, meaningful way? As we continue to reflect on the nature of time, we may come to understand that the present is not just a single moment, but a process, a flow of experience that we are constantly moving through. It is not a fixed point, but a dynamic, shifting perception, one that we can never fully hold on to, no matter how hard we try. The present is not just a point in time, but a wave, a pulse that moves through us, forever fleeting, forever changing. And perhaps this is what makes it so beautiful. The present is a gift, but like all gifts, it slips through our fingers, just as we try to capture it. As we continue to contemplate the nature of the present, we arrive at an intriguing thought. Why does the present feel so fleeting? We experience time in a way that seems fluid, yet there is a constant tension between our need to hold on to it and the reality that it slips away so quickly. The present, though experienced by us in real time, is always moving forward, leaving behind the fleeting now that we can never quite grasp. It seems to slip into the future, even as we try to focus on it. Our minds try to capture it, to make it last, but the moment is gone before we can fully comprehend it. And in that fleeting moment, we wonder, is this how time is meant to be experienced? as a quick, ever-changing pulse, one that we are only able to touch briefly before it vanishes. Is this the essence of time itself? A continuous unfolding that we can never fully experience, no matter how much we try to hold on to it. Perhaps the key to understanding the nature of the present lies not in trying to pin it down, but in accepting its impermanence. Time flows, it changes, and it never stops. The present exists only because the future is always ahead, pulling us forward, while the past fades behind us. It is this constant motion, this unceasing flow, that makes the present feel like a momentary pause, a brief respite between what was and what is yet to come. The more we try to focus on it, the more it seems to slip away. And yet, this impermanence is what gives time its beauty. If the present were permanent, if we could truly hold on to it, would it have the same significance? It is the transient nature of the present that makes each moment precious, that gives it meaning. In the context of Einstein's theory of relativity, the present takes on a new dimension. Time is not a fixed constant, but a variable, a dimension that can be altered by speed, gravity, and motion. For an astronaut traveling at near light speeds, the experience of time is vastly different from someone standing on Earth. Time, for the astronaut, slows down, stretches out, and becomes a different experience altogether. This time, dilation effect shows us that the present is not the same for everyone. It is not a universal experience, but one that is deeply tied to our position in the universe. The faster you move, the slower time flows for you, relative to someone who is at rest. This brings us to an important question. Can the present, then, be said to be a shared experience? Or is it simply an individual perception, one that is shaped by our movement through space and time? The relativity of time further complicates our understanding of the present. If time can move differently for different people, how can we say that we all experience the same now? The present is not fixed, but relative to the observer. An astronaut moving at the speed of light would experience time at a slower pace, while someone on Earth would experience the same moments in a more standard way. In this sense, the present is not as tangible or objective as we might think. It is shaped by the forces of motion, gravity, and speed, making each person's experience of time unique. The present, therefore, is not a single, universal moment that we all share, but a personal experience that is influenced by where we are and how fast we are moving. Is the present simply an illusion, then? Is it just a fleeting slice, a small piece of time that we can never fully hold on to? Or is it something more, an essential intrinsic part of our experience of life? Perhaps the present is both real and illusory, existing in a paradox. It is real in the sense that we experience it, but it is also illusory because it is always slipping away, always moving forward, just out of reach. The more we try to grasp it, the more it escapes us. Yet, this is what makes the present so special. It is the one moment in time where we can fully experience life, where we can taste, touch, see, and hear everything that the world has to offer. The present is not something to be caught or held, but something to be embraced as it unfolds before us. It is a gift wrapped in the moment, and we must accept it, fleeting as it is. As we reflect on the present, we begin to see that time, in all its forms, is not something that we can easily understand or control. The present, like time itself, is complex, shifting, and elusive. We cannot capture it, and we cannot stop it. But in that fleeting moment, we can experience the fullness of life. It is through the present that we come alive, that we make memories, and that we connect with the world around us. The present is not an illusion, but a space in which we experience reality. And even though it is always fleeting, it is in this moment that we live, breathe, and exist. Time, in its infinite flow, is a reminder that life is not about holding on to moments, but about experiencing them as they come. The future, a realm filled with infinite possibilities, a vast expanse that stretches out before us, waiting to be discovered. We live in it, yet we know so little about it. The future is unknown, unknowable, a space where anything can happen, where choices, fate, and chance all meet. We look forward to it, often with hope or fear, yet it is always just out of our reach. It teases us with potential, yet keeps its true nature hidden, like a veil waiting to be lifted. But here's a question that might unsettle you. Can the future be as real as the past? The past is concrete, tangible in its own way, something that we've lived through, something we can remember and reflect on. But the future exists only in our imaginations, in our predictions, in the theories we build to try and understand it. Is the future just a figment of our minds, or does it exist in the same way the past does, in a form that we cannot yet perceive? We cannot touch the future. We cannot experience it in the same way we experience the present or the past. Yet we plan for it, we hope for it, and we even fear it. The future exists in our minds, in the choices we make today, and in the dreams we create for tomorrow. But what if, like the past, the future is already written, already set in motion, and we're merely walking along a path that's already been determined? This thought brings us to the age-old debate, determinism versus free will. If the future is set, if all moments are already laid out before us, what room is left for choice? If our actions are predetermined, does that mean we're just puppets in the grand play of existence? Or do we have the power to shape the future, to make choices that can change the course of events? The idea of free will suggests that we are agents of change, capable of altering the trajectory of our lives. Yet, determinism suggests that the future is already written, that we are simply following a script that has been set long before we were born. How do we reconcile these two ideas? Can we truly have free will if the future is already determined? Or is our free will simply an illusion, something our minds create to make sense of the events unfolding around us? Let's now turn to the scientific view of the future. Quantum mechanics, one of the most mind-bending areas of physics, offers us a radically different perspective on the future. According to quantum mechanics, the future is not set in stone, but exists as a collection of possibilities, each one dependent on the choices and actions of every individual in the universe. Imagine, if you will, a universe where every possible future already exists, waiting for us to choose. This is the basis of the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics. In this view, every time we make a decision, the universe splits, creating a new branch of reality where a different outcome occurs. So, if we choose one path, the universe splits, and another version of ourselves, living in a different branch of reality, follows a different path. The future, then, is not just one fixed timeline, but a vast web of possibilities, each one coexisting, each one waiting for us to make a choice, What if all possible futures already exist, like branches on a tree, just waiting for us to choose which one we will walk down? In this scenario, the future is not something that unfolds as a single path, but something that exists as a vast network of potential outcomes. Every choice we make, every action we take, sends ripples through the fabric of reality, splitting the universe into countless versions, each one playing out a different future. This is both a liberating and a humbling thought. It means that the future is not something we can predict with certainty, because every moment of choice creates a new branch, a new possibility. The future is both a mystery and an unfolding reality, and we are the ones who are constantly shaping it, one decision at a time. The many worlds interpretation offers us a way to understand the future as an infinite set of possibilities, each one as real as the next, just waiting for us to choose. But if the future is made up of all these possibilities, does this mean the future is already there, waiting for us to reach it? Time as a dimension suggests that the future exists in much the same way that the past and present do. We often think of time as linear, as something that moves from the past to the present to the future. But what if time, in its truest sense, is not a straight line at all? What if time is a dimension, a vast continuum in which all points, past, present, and future, exist simultaneously? In this view, the future is not something that we move toward, but something that is already there, just as real as the present and the past. Time, in this sense, is like a vast landscape, with the past, present, and future existing all at once. We are simply moving through it, experiencing different points in time as we go, but all moments already exist, just waiting for us to experience them. The concept of time as a dimension, one that allows for all points in time to exist simultaneously, presents a radically different way of thinking about the future. In this view, the future does not stretch out before us as a blank canvas, waiting for us to paint it. Instead, it already exists, just like the past and present. We might think of time like a book, with every page already written, and each moment, past, present, and future, simultaneously available. As we move through time, we turn the pages, experiencing one chapter at a time, but all the chapters exist in the book, even before we read them. The future is not something that becomes. It is already there, part of the fabric of the universe. This perspective challenges our conventional understanding of time as a linear progression. The future, in this sense, is not something we are heading toward, but something that is already laid out, just beyond our current moment. We are simply moving through it. The idea of time as a dimension also aligns with the block universe theory, where all moments in time, past, present, and future, are considered to exist together as one whole. Our experience of time, then, is akin to walking along a path that has already been drawn out in front of us. We do not create the future. Rather, we experience it as it comes into our awareness, unfolding in the space of the present. This raises the fascinating question: if all points in time already exist, is the future as real as the past? Are we simply moving through a predetermined timeline, or do we have the power to change our trajectory, shaping our path as we go? For some, this view of time as a dimension where the future already exists may feel disconcerting. It seems to rob us of agency, of the power to change our fate. But this perspective could also offer a sense of comfort. If the future is already laid out, then perhaps there is a greater order to things, a cosmic plan that we are a part of. It suggests that the uncertainty of the future, our fear of the unknown, might just be an illusion, a product of our limited perception. In this sense, we are not lost in time, but moving through it, guided by the inevitable flow of existence. But the question remains, if the future is fixed in this way, does it allow for free will? Or are we simply players in a script that is already written, with no room for choice or change? While the notion of the future existing as a fixed block can seem deterministic, quantum mechanics offers an intriguing counterpoint with the many worlds interpretation. According to quantum theory, the future is not a single path, but a collection of possibilities. The theory suggests that every decision we make, no matter how small, can create an entirely new branch of reality, where different outcomes unfold. This interpretation flips our understanding of time on its head. Instead of the future being a singular, predetermined event, the future is instead a vast landscape of infinite potential, where all possible outcomes coexist in parallel. Imagine for a moment that every decision you make creates a new branch in the fabric of reality. One version of you takes a job in another city, while another version stays where you are, making entirely different choices that lead to completely separate futures. In the many worlds model, all of these futures exist side by side as separate realities, each just as real as the next. What does this mean for our understanding of free will? If every possible future already exists in parallel, then each choice we make is not just a path we take. It is the creation of an entirely new universe, one where a different version of ourselves lives out the consequences of our decisions. So does this mean that the future is already written, or is it written at the moment of choice? In a world where multiple versions of ourselves coexist, this interpretation provides a radically different understanding of the future. The many worlds theory suggests that we are not moving toward a single future, but creating a multiverse of futures, each one arising from the choices we make. If all possible futures already exist, waiting for us to choose, then the future becomes not a mystery, but a canvas of infinite potential. This view offers a fascinating blend of determinism and free will, where the future is both already existing in some form and still open to change, shaped by the choices we make in each moment. The present is a gateway to this vast array of possible futures, each one emerging as we move through time. Does the future exist, waiting for us? Returning to the notion of time as a dimension, we are forced to ask, does the future exist as a separate point in time, just waiting for us to reach it? If we think of time as a landscape, with the past behind us, the present moving forward, and the future ahead, then the future seems to be something we will inevitably arrive at. But does it already exist as we approach it? Is the future already there, waiting for us? Or does it only come into being as we move toward it? The idea of time as a dimension suggests that the future, though it may seem distant, is already part of the universe, part of the structure of time itself. We do not create the future, but we experience it as we move through it. The future, like the past and present, is part of a larger, timeless block where all moments coexist in their own way, each one just as real as the others. In this sense, the future is not something we are waiting for, but something we are walking toward step by step. It exists as a potentiality, a realm of possibilities that becomes real as we experience it. Time is not a one-way street, but a vast continuum that we navigate. The future is always ahead, always just out of reach, but it is always there, waiting for us to arrive at it. And yet, even as we approach it, the future remains mysterious, unknowable, a space where anything can happen, where anything is possible. The question then becomes, are we moving toward a predetermined future, or are we creating it as we go? Time travel. Is it possible? The concept of time travel has long captured our imaginations. From the early writings of H.G. Wells to the blockbuster films of today, the idea of journeying through time, whether to the past or the future, has been a staple of science fiction. But what if time travel is not just a fantasy? What if it could actually be possible? Can we ever truly move backward or forward in time? Modern physics suggests that time travel might not be as far-fetched as it seems, though it may not look quite like the time machines of popular culture. One of the most profound insights into time travel comes from Einstein's theory of relativity, which fundamentally altered our understanding of time and space. According to Einstein, time is not a fixed, unchanging flow. Instead, it is relative, meaning it can change depending on the observer's motion and gravity. This concept is known as time dilation, the idea that time passes at different rates depending on how fast you are moving or how close you are to a massive object like a planet or a star. For example, if you were traveling in a spaceship close to the speed of light, you would experience time much more slowly than someone on Earth. This is time travel, but only in one direction, the future. As you move faster through space, time slows down for you, meaning that for someone moving close to the speed of light, a trip that lasts a few hours might feel like only a few minutes. But for someone left behind on Earth, those hours would seem to pass at their usual pace. This means that, in theory, time travel to the future is possible through the manipulation of speed and gravity. If we could travel fast enough, or somehow enter a region of space with intense gravity, we could experience time differently, effectively jumping forward into the future while the rest of the world remains at a normal pace. While this type of time travel isn't quite like hopping into a machine and arriving at your destination, it does suggest that time travel, at least to the future, is possible under the right circumstances. But what about time travel to the past? This is where things get more complicated. According to Einstein's general theory of relativity, wormholes might provide a possible route for time travel, particularly to the past. Wormholes are theoretical passages through space-time, acting like shortcuts that could potentially connect distant points in the universe. These tunnels are predicted by the mathematics of general relativity, but their physical existence remains purely speculative. Wormholes could, in theory, allow someone to travel backward or forward in time by connecting different points in the fabric of space-time. But this concept, while mathematically possible, presents several challenges, most notably the need for exotic matter to stabilize the wormhole. Without this mysterious substance, which has negative energy and would keep the wormhole open, any passage through it would likely collapse before anyone could use it. Then there are black holes, regions of space where gravity is so intense that nothing, not even light, can escape. Black holes also warp space-time, bending it into strange shapes. Some scientists have theorized that if we could survive the intense gravity of a black hole, which is highly unlikely, we might pass through a sort of time portal and emerge in another time. While this idea is tantalizing, black holes are still one of the most mysterious objects in the universe. currently have no way of traveling safely through one, let alone using them for time travel. Additionally, the event horizon, the point of no return, surrounding a black hole, makes this kind of journey incredibly dangerous, as any attempt to get too close would be doomed to failure. Still, in the realm of theoretical physics, black holes and wormholes remain two of the most plausible candidates for time travel, even if the practical challenges are insurmountable with our current technology. If time travel is possible, even in theory, then it brings with it a host of fascinating and sometimes troubling questions. One of the most famous and perplexing aspects of time travel is the paradoxes that arise when we think about traveling back into the past. The grandfather paradox is perhaps the best known of these. Imagine you travel back in time and, in an effort to change history, prevent your grandfather from meeting your grandmother. If your grandfather never meets your grandmother, your parent would never be born, and therefore neither would you. But if you were never born, how could you have traveled back in time to prevent your grandfather from meeting your grandmother? This creates a logical contradiction. Your actions in the past prevent your own existence, which would prevent you from making those actions in the first place. This paradox raises questions about the very nature of causality and whether events in the past can truly be changed, or whether the timeline is fixed, unalterable. Another famous time travel paradox is the butterfly effect. This concept, often associated with chaos theory, suggests that even the smallest change in the past, such as the flapping of a butterfly's wings, can have dramatic, far-reaching consequences in the future. While this may seem like an exaggerated idea, it highlights the potential dangers of time travel, particularly when considering the possibility of altering events in the past. If you were to go back in time and change something seemingly insignificant, you might unintentionally set off a chain reaction that changes everything. Perhaps a single small action, like stepping on a bug or changing an interaction between two people, could alter the course of history in ways you could never predict. This is one of the major challenges of time travel to the past. The sheer unpredictability of what might happen when we meddle with the fabric of time. Time travel also brings up other potential consequences. If we could travel to the past, we might learn things about our history, perhaps even bring knowledge back to the present. But would this change the present, or would it create a separate, parallel timeline? The idea of parallel universes is suggested by some quantum theories, including the many worlds interpretation, which proposes that every possible outcome creates a new, separate universe. In the case of time travel, this would mean that traveling to the past doesn't change the future, but creates a new branch in reality, with a different timeline altogether. This would allow us to explore the past without disrupting our present, but it also raises the question of how such a parallel timeline would interact with the original timeline. Would it coexist peacefully, or would it cause a conflict between realities? Could one timeline overwrite another, or would we simply create infinite variations of history, all existing in parallel? Time travel, if ever possible, would undoubtedly reshape our understanding of reality and the very fabric of existence. The possibility of interacting with the past or the future, altering history, or even observing events unfold from different perspectives, would have profound consequences not just for individuals, but for the entire universe. Time, once a constant, becomes something malleable, something that could be bent and shaped, altered by our actions and decisions. But as we've seen, there are significant challenges, both theoretical and practical, that make time travel a tantalizing yet elusive concept. One of the most intriguing aspects of time travel is its potential to affect the reality we know. If we could travel to the past, would we be able to change things? Could we rewrite history? Or would we simply observe it, unable to make any alterations? The famous grandfather paradox suggests that changing events in the past would create contradictions, raising the question of whether the past can truly be altered. If we could travel back and change something, would the universe correct itself, restoring balance and ensuring that no paradoxes could arise? Or would it create a ripple effect, leading to a vastly different future? One that might be radically different from the one we know. There's also the matter of the butterfly effect, a phenomenon that highlights how small changes in the past can lead to enormous, unpredictable consequences in the future. If we traveled back in time, even the smallest interaction could potentially alter the course of history, leading to massive changes in the future. This presents a dilemma. How can we predict the consequences of our actions in the past? If we step on an insect or prevent a meeting between two key figures in history, could we unknowingly erase an important event that shapes the future? The unpredictability of these changes suggests that time travel could have catastrophic consequences, leading to timelines that diverge in ways we cannot foresee. Perhaps a more comfortable approach to time travel, then, would be one where the past cannot be altered. In this case, time travel would allow us to witness history, but not change it. We could travel to ancient Rome, watch the construction of the Great Pyramids, or witness the signing of the Declaration of Independence, but we would have no power to interfere with these events. Time would remain immutable, and our only role would be that of an observer, an experience perhaps more akin to watching a movie than participating in it. This concept would allow us to travel through time without risking the alteration of reality. But even this comes with its own philosophical implications. If we could witness the past, would we be forever changed by our understanding of history? Could we walk away from the past with a new perspective on the present? Or would we be forever haunted by the knowledge of what has already transpired? There's also the possibility of time travel affecting parallel universes, where each decision creates a new branch of reality. The many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics proposes that each possible outcome of an event exists in its own parallel universe, creating a multiverse of infinite possibilities. In this view, if we traveled back in time and altered an event, we wouldn't be changing the timeline we came from. We would simply be creating a new timeline, a parallel universe where events unfold differently. This means that time travel to the past could be less about rewriting history and more about creating alternate realities, each with its own chain of events. While this might seem like an appealing solution to the paradoxes of time travel, it also raises its own questions. How many parallel universes are created? How would these universes interact, if at all? And what happens to the original timeline once it's altered? Would the new parallel reality continue on its own, or would it merge with the original timeline in unexpected ways? In some ways, time travel offers us a glimpse into the nature of free will and fate. If the future is predetermined, as some theories suggest, then time travel to the past would be futile. Any attempt to change history would simply be part of the plan, an unavoidable event in the larger course of the universe. But if the future is open, a vast sea of possibilities, then time travel becomes a tool for exploring the unknown, for shaping our destiny, and for experimenting with different outcomes. The paradoxes and consequences of time travel challenge our fundamental understanding of cause and effect, of fate and free will. Could time travel allow us to make choices we might never have made in this timeline? Or is everything we do already destined to happen? Would we be able to break free from the constraints of time? Or would we find ourselves trapped in an endless cycle of cause and effect, unable to change the past or future? The impact on reality. What if time travel were possible? If time travel were indeed possible, it would force us to reconsider everything we know about reality. The boundaries between past, present, and future would blur, and our understanding of the universe would become far more complex. The consequences of even the smallest changes in the past could ripple through time, creating alternate versions of reality, each one unfolding in a different way. Could we possibly live in a reality where our actions in the past have already altered the course of history, creating a future that is fundamentally different from what we know? Or, as some theories suggest, could the universe correct itself, ensuring that reality remains stable, even when we attempt to change it? In many ways, time travel forces us to confront the mysteries of the universe. Questions about free will, determinism, and the nature of time itself. As we move forward in our understanding of physics and the universe, perhaps one day we will uncover the secrets of time travel. But for now, it remains a fascinating and complex possibility, one that challenges our perceptions and our understanding of reality. Whether or not time travel will ever be a part of our lives remains to be seen, but it is clear that, even as a concept, it continues to capture our imaginations, opening doors to new questions and possibilities about the very nature of time. The arrow of time. Why does time flow? Time is an ever-flowing river, never stagnant, always moving forward. But why does it seem to flow in one direction? And what makes time so different from other physical dimensions, like space, which we can move freely through? To understand why time flows the way it does, we need to explore a fundamental concept in physics: entropy. Entropy, a measure of disorder in a system, is often considered the key reason that time seems to flow in one direction, forward. The second law of thermodynamics tells us that in any closed system, entropy tends to increase over time. In other words, things naturally move from a state of order to a state of chaos. Think of a cup of hot coffee left in a cold room. Over time, the heat will disperse and the coffee will cool, moving toward a state of thermodynamic equilibrium. This movement toward greater disorder is not just an isolated phenomenon, but a universal tendency that applies to everything in the universe. Entropy is central to understanding why time feels like it only flows in one direction. As entropy increases, systems evolve, and the universe as a whole moves toward a state of greater disorder. This process of increasing entropy is irreversible, and it provides a sort of arrow for the flow of time. While space, as we know it, is not constrained by such a direction, time always seems to move forward because of this relentless march toward greater disorder. In fact, entropy gives us a reason to distinguish the past from the future. The past is marked by lower entropy, while the future is marked by higher entropy. If we think of the universe as a clock, then entropy is the ticking hand, pointing us in a specific direction, never allowing us to go backward. This arrow of time, as it is called, provides a framework for understanding why we experience time But what would happen if entropy didn't increase? Could the past be just as real as the future? Imagine a world where entropy does not increase. Would time still feel like it flows in one direction? Or could we move backward in time as easily as we move forward? If entropy were constant, would we experience the past and the future in the same way? The increasing disorder of the universe is what gives us the distinct feeling of time moving forward. Without this increase in entropy, time could become a cyclical, timeless experience, where past, present, and future could all exist at once. We might not be able to distinguish between them in the same way we do now, and time could lose its directionality. But as long as entropy increases, time will always move forward, taking us from one moment to the next, with no possibility of turning back. The arrow of time is therefore inextricably linked to the rise of entropy. As we move through time, we are also moving through the universe's progression toward disorder. This relationship between time and entropy helps explain why we experience time as something that flows from the past to the future. It's not just that time is a clock ticking forward, it's that the universe itself is always evolving, always becoming more disordered. The natural tendency of entropy to increase gives time a direction forward because it is tied to the irreversible processes of the universe. This is why we cannot go back in time. The increase in entropy makes it impossible to reverse the process. Once something moves from a state of order to disorder, it cannot easily go back to its original, ordered state. But how do we experience the flow of time in our minds? Why do we remember the past, but never the future? Our minds are deeply attuned to the passage of time, yet we are only able to process the past, not the future. This distinction between how we perceive the past and future is another critical aspect of the psychological arrow of time. The past is fixed in our memory, while the future is always uncertain, always unknown. In the realm of psychology, our perception of time is shaped by how we store and recall memories, by the way our brains interpret experiences and organize them in the context of time. When we recall a memory, it is rooted in a moment that has already passed. But when we look to the future, we cannot be certain what will happen. Our minds are wired to experience time in a linear fashion, from past to present to future, and this process helps us navigate our lives. We remember the past because our brains have mechanisms for storing experiences. These experiences become part of our personal history, available for us to recall whenever we need them. The past, for us, is a collection of memories that are formed through perception, emotion, and sensory input. It is anchored in time, and once it is stored in our minds, it becomes a fixed part of our reality. But when we try to think about the future, we encounter a different kind of uncertainty. We can make predictions, imagine possibilities, and create plans, but we can never know what will happen with absolute certainty. Our minds simply cannot process the future in the same way we process the past. This leads us to the question, why do we remember the past, but never the future? The answer lies in the very nature of time and memory. Memory is a process that takes place after an event has occurred, which is why we can recall the past, but not the future. We are only able to reflect on events after they have happened, and it is through this reflection that we create our understanding of time. Our brains are constantly forming new memories, building a personal timeline, but we cannot remember something that has not yet happened. In a sense, Our relationship with time is anchored in memory, and because the future is always unknown, it remains outside the grasp of our consciousness. As we look ahead, the future is like a blank slate, waiting to be filled in as we move forward. This is why the future remains uncertain, even as we experience the passage of time. We can never truly know what is coming next. We can only anticipate it. Our minds are set up to process the present and the past, but the future always lies ahead of us, out of reach and full of infinite possibilities. The psychological arrow of time is, therefore, shaped by our ability to remember, to reflect, and to make sense of the moments that have already passed. The future, on the other hand, remains a mystery, one that we can only experience as it unfolds before us, with no way to predict what it will bring. The psychological arrow of time, our ability to remember the past but never the future, helps us understand why we experience time as moving forward, even when we can't see it. This feature of the human mind creates a clear division between the past, present, and future. As we experience life, our brains process events and create memories that anchor us to the past, which we can always revisit. These memories, however, are not static or perfectly preserved. They change, adapt, and evolve with the passage of time, influenced by our emotions, thoughts, and experiences. This malleability of memory helps us form a personal narrative, one that shapes our identity and guides our actions in the present. On the other hand, we can never access the future in the same way. The future is not a collection of experiences waiting to be stored or recalled. It's a space of uncertainty. We can speculate about it, dream about it, and plan for it, but we can never truly experience it until it becomes the present. In essence, time remains a one-way journey, at least as far as our consciousness is concerned. The psychological arrow of time makes it clear that we are bound to live our lives in the direction of increasing disorder, just as the universe itself moves toward a state of higher entropy. This connection between the psychological and physical arrows of time is what makes our experience of time feel consistent and irreversible. As we move forward in life, we are always creating new memories, adding to the growing timeline of our existence, while the future remains a realm of potentiality, never quite tangible until it becomes the present. As we explore the flow of time, we start to notice something significant. Time's passage is not only a function of physics, but also of how our consciousness interacts with the world around us. The second law of thermodynamics, which tells us that entropy increases over time, gives us a cosmic reason for the flow of time. It suggests that the universe is heading toward more disorder, and this drive toward disorder aligns perfectly with how we experience time. In a way, time and memory are intertwined. The experiences we have, the decisions we make, and the actions we take, all of these contribute to the unfolding of time in a linear fashion. If time were not linked to entropy, and if entropy did not increase, perhaps we could move backward in time, revisit moments in our lives, or even make different choices. But because time is rooted in the flow toward higher entropy, we are locked in this linear path where the future is always ahead, just out of reach, while the past becomes an ever-fading memory. Interestingly, while we experience time moving forward, we do not always notice it as it happens. The flow of time often seems imperceptible in the moment, especially when we are absorbed in the present. Only when we look back do we realize how much time has highlights an important paradox. While time moves forward and is always flowing, our perception of it can feel stagnant, like a moment that stretches out or slips by unnoticed. The way we experience time is influenced by many factors: our emotional state, the significance of the moment, and the events that surround us. For instance, moments of great joy or excitement may make time feel like it flies by, while moments of boredom or distress may make time seem to drag on endlessly. Despite these fluctuations in our perception, time itself continues to flow in one direction, following the irreversible path set out by the laws of physics. Now, let's return to the question of whether time could ever move backward. Given the arrow of time and the increasing entropy of the universe, the answer seems clear. No, time cannot move backward. The past is locked in place, and the future is yet to unfold. If time could reverse itself, we would expect to see things like spilled milk spontaneously reforming into a glass, or a broken vase reassembling itself. But we never see these things happen. We never experience time flowing backward, only forward. The arrow of time, driven by the increasing disorder of the universe, ensures that our experience of time is always tied to the irreversible flow of events. This concept of time's one-way movement, bound by the principle of entropy, helps us understand why we cannot turn back the clock or undo the past. The future, with all its possibilities, is always ahead, just waiting to unfold, while the past remains behind, as a collection of memories and experiences that have shaped us into who we are today. At the same time, the relationship between entropy and time also raises another interesting question. Could the future ever be as real as the past? If the increase of entropy defines the forward flow of time, then the past, present, and future are forever tied together, but in different ways. The past, as we understand it, is already settled, defined by what has occurred. The future, however, remains uncertain, filled with infinite possibilities that have yet to unfold. If entropy did not increase, and the universe did not move toward greater disorder, it's possible that we could experience the past and the future in a more balanced way. The future would not be a mystery, a blank slate, but a reality that we could experience as tangibly as the past. Yet because entropy governs the direction of time, the future remains an unknowable realm, just out of reach, forever unfolding as we move forward. The increasing disorder of the universe, which drives time forward, gives us a sense of direction, a purpose to the unfolding of time. It is the reason time does not loop in on itself or move backward, but instead progresses in one direction, toward greater complexity and disorder. In this way, entropy provides us with a roadmap for understanding the nature of time, not only in the context of the cosmos, but also in our daily lives. The arrow of time is not simply a philosophical concept. It is a fundamental aspect of how we experience reality itself. Time and consciousness, a deep connection. Consciousness as the anchor of time. Our minds are intricately tied to the flow of time. We experience the passage of time as a continuous stream, one moment slipping into the next, forever moving forward. But are we merely witnesses to this flow, or is consciousness itself the anchor that holds time in place for us? Time, as we experience it, does not exist independently of our awareness. Rather, it is our perception of it, our consciousness, that brings it to life. Without consciousness, would time have any meaning? Would the moments we live in even be felt? Or would they simply pass without notice, like leaves carried by an unseen current? Consciousness gives us the ability to perceive time as something that flows. It allows us to track the passage of moments, to remember the past, to anticipate the future, and to live in the present. Without consciousness, the concept of time might be meaningless. If we were not aware of the flow of time, would it even exist in the way we understand it? Our minds serve as the lens through which we perceive time, giving it structure and significance. Time is not something we observe passively. It is something we experience, something that is deeply entwined with our thoughts, emotions, and memories. But there is another question here. Is our experience of time as an unbroken flow simply an illusion? Are we really moving through time, or are we stuck in a single moment, unaware of the true nature of time's passage? Some philosophers have argued that time itself is not a physical entity, but a construct of consciousness. It is only through our awareness of the world around us that we give time meaning. Without consciousness, there would be no before and after, no past and future, only an endless, timeless existence. In this view, our perception of time is not an objective feature of the world, but a subjective experience shaped by our minds. Time flows because we allow it to, and without our minds to track it, it might simply cease to exist as we understand it. Perhaps then, the flow of time is not an independent force, but something created within us. A mental model that gives structure to our existence. Just as we perceive space and shape, we also perceive time. It is the backdrop against which our lives unfold, but it is not an external force. It is an experience crafted by our own awareness. The passage of time, in this sense, may be less about moving through space and more about the process of remembering, anticipating, and experiencing. In the end, time is not a constant that we pass through, but a sensation that we live in, anchored firmly in the present moment, yet stretching in both directions, into the past and the future, by the power of our consciousness. If time is tied so closely to consciousness, then it stands to reason that our experience of time could change, depending on the state of our consciousness. One of the most fascinating and perplexing states of consciousness is sleep, and more specifically, dreams. When we dream, time behaves in ways that seem to defy our usual understanding. In our waking hours, time seems to flow steadily from one moment to the next. But in dreams, time can stretch and contract, warp and bend, in ways that feel completely unnatural. Hours in the real world can pass by in the blink of an eye in a dream, or the most trivial event can unfold over what seems like an eternity. The experience of time in dreams is unlike anything we experience when we are awake. Have you ever woken from a dream, only to realize that what felt like hours of adventure or confusion happened in just a few minutes of real time? Or have you had a dream that felt timeless, where time simply ceased to exist, and everything unfolded in a continuous moment? In dreams, the normal rules of time seem to disappear. Events can loop back on themselves. Time can stand still, or it can stretch infinitely, all while we remain immersed in the experience. And yet, When we wake up, we cannot help but feel that time has passed in the real world, even though it has moved differently in our dreams. The question then arises, do we feel the passage of time while asleep? Do we experience time moving forward in the same way we do when awake? Or do we live in an eternal moment where time is irrelevant? Scientists and psychologists have debated the nature of time perception in dreams for years. And while we don't have a definitive answer, one thing is clear. Time in dreams is malleable. Time may not function in the same linear way while we sleep, and we might experience entire lifetimes in the span of just a few minutes. The way our brain processes time while asleep is still largely a mystery, but it's possible that dreams exist outside of time as we know it. They take place in a world where the usual rules do not apply, where moments can bend and stretch in ways that challenge our understanding of reality. The sense of time in dreams might be an illusion created by our minds, but it is an illusion that feels real while we're experiencing it. Perhaps the key to understanding time in dreams lies in how we experience consciousness during sleep. When we dream, we are still conscious, but in a different way. Our waking consciousness is tethered to the flow of time. Our thoughts are always moving from one moment to the next, and we perceive time as a constant stream. But in dreams, our consciousness is freed from the usual constraints of time. We can move through moments as though they don't exist in any specific order, experiencing the future, past, and present all at once. This might explain why time feels so different in dreams. It's not that time doesn't exist. It's that our consciousness is untethered from the usual rules, allowing us to experience time as a fluid, elastic entity. As we reflect on the mysteries of time, we begin to see that time is far more than just a measure of moments passing by. It is a concept woven deeply into the fabric of our existence, influencing how we perceive ourselves and the world around us. The past, the present, and the future are not merely abstract ideas, but powerful forces that shape our experiences. Yet, as we have explored, time is also elusive. The past is a collection of memories, fading and shifting, while the present is a fleeting moment, always slipping away into the future. And the future, that mysterious realm of infinite possibilities, remains just beyond our reach, an unknown that we can only imagine. Time seems to flow forward from the past, through the present, and into the future. But as we've learned, this flow is far from simple. Time is tied to the fundamental forces of the universe, to the increase of entropy, to the bending of space and time itself, and to the very nature of consciousness. It is a force that we cannot see, but that shapes our lives in ways we may never fully understand. The arrow of time points in one direction, toward greater disorder, and it is this progression that gives us the sense of time moving forward. The rise of entropy, as governed by the second law of thermodynamics, ensures that time cannot go backward. The flow of time is irreducible, yet paradoxically, it is tied to our minds, our perception of it, and the way we process the world around us. Consciousness anchors us in time, giving us the ability to experience and reflect on the moments that pass. Yet, our minds also create illusions of time, especially when we dream, where time may seem fluid, warped, or even non-existent. Time's behavior in our dreams challenges our usual understanding of it. suggesting that time, in a sense, is not an objective truth but a personal experience. We are both witnesses to time's passage and active participants in shaping our experience of it. As we move through life, time remains one of the most profound mysteries we encounter. We cannot touch it, hold it, or reverse it, yet it dictates every moment of our lives. The future, with all its uncertainties and potential, remains just out of reach, a vast realm of possibilities waiting to unfold. The present is a fleeting, fragile moment that is never quite grasped, always slipping away as we try to live in it. And the past, though it may be gone, continues to shape us, living on in memories, stories, and the choices we make. Time is a gift, fleeting yet infinite, an unseen force that governs our existence, and perhaps one of the greatest mysteries we will ever encounter. Time travel, consciousness, entropy, and the flow of time. Each of these ideas challenges our understanding of the world and invites us to reflect on the very nature of reality. Time is a force that cannot be controlled, yet we must live within its flow. We cannot stop it, slow it, or turn it back. But perhaps the most important lesson we can take from this journey is the realization that time is not something to fear or conquer. It is something to embrace, to live within, and to appreciate. Time is the thread that ties everything together, from the smallest moment to the vast expanse of the cosmos. It is both a gift and a mystery, a force that shapes us, yet remains forever beyond our grasp. Thank you for joining me on this peaceful journey through time. Let the quiet of time wrap around you as you drift into a peaceful sleep, knowing that time, in all its complexity, will continue its eternal flow. And though we may never fully understand it, we can find solace in the fact that time, like life, is a beautiful, mysterious thing.